time for a costume change.
Yeah, and before, I see. Yeah, I'm going to take care of that in a minute as well. Meanwhile, we're about ready to introduce our next visitor. But before we do, I just want to point out something, that this is the IACT IMDHA virtual chapter, and just thought I'd
Throw that in.
throw that in. And we are just thrilled to be here with you tonight. And happy World Hypnotism Day, everybody. And if you are a member of IACT and IMDHA, you can get CEUs for 5. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't count them backwards or you will fall asleep. Hours. And all you need to do is to go to the website of the organization you are a member of, log in with your member ID, and there'll be a little form that pops up where you just say, I went to World Hypnotism Day and I want to have those 5 hours back. And they will give you credit for having been here. So be sure and do that.
And I want to add too that Michael and I do on the second Tuesday of every month, we do a virtual chapter meeting. It's IACT, IMDHA, and you can get CEUs for that. But everyone's invited. We like this meeting to be non-denominational. So you don't have to be an IACT or IMDHA member to attend, to learn something, to join us. We just want you to join us. We want to spread the word on hypnosis and talk to you about it. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, in other words, you don't have to have a good reason to be there. Just show up, and we'll be happy to see you. Yep. So we're going to turn our attention now to our friend Melissa Roth, who is joining us from the mile-high state of Colorado.
I saw her mile-high daughter, lovely daughter Caitlin, in the background a moment ago, too.
Yes.
So welcome, Melissa. How are you doing tonight?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, and mostly thank Tom for creating World Hypnotism Day, so that we all have a platform to promote what we do and love.
Yeah.
So thanks, Tom. Even though you're not here, maybe you'll get the word.
And Melissa's done this from kind of the southernmost part of the country to north, all over the place. And you're one to prove that you can move locations and still establish a really well-run business and a worthwhile business and a money-making business.
Yes. I started in Birmingham, Alabama. And, I told people that if I could build a full-time practice in the heart of the Bible Belt, and this was, 30 years ago, that they could build a full-time practice anywhere they were. Because I had ministers staying in the pulpit on Sunday mornings, calling me out by name and telling their parishioners, absolutely do not see this woman. This is the work of the devil. And I'm going, well, I'll have good company in hell then. So I was really too busy there. I was seeing 25 to 30 clients a week in the office. I was covering 2 hospitals. I was teaching hypnosis for pain control at UAB Medical School and working out of their palliative care unit. And I was running 1 to 2 groups at night each quarter. And all I was doing was working. And I really didn't want to do that. And I thought when I moved to Colorado, I thought, well, it'll take me 3 years to build a practice. And by that time I'll be, I'll have what I want and can work as long as I really want to. Yeah, right.
I was going to ask, do you have it?
No, shit, I'm still working more than I want to.
What?
It took me exactly 6 weeks to build a full-time practice here. And then I hired the first associate. And then I hired a second associate. And I'm going, what's wrong with this picture? Where did I screw up? Well, I mean, it's true. So now I'm trying to con people into working into doing what I do for me. So look for some what I consider to be exciting announcements in the next 60 days, or hopefully less.
So let's step back for a moment and tell us what it is you do, Melissa, because some of the people may not know.
Well, all I do is medical applications of hypnotherapy. It started with myself. And back in the mid-'80s, I had a very successful and very lucrative personnel consulting firm. And I did consulting all over the world for mostly Fortune 500 companies and some large local companies. And I started getting sick. At first it was little aches and pains, and and the doctor said, well, you're getting too much exercise.
I'm looking for
In those days I exercised. And so I cut back. And then I tried antidepressant. And then the constant diarrhea started. And by the early 90s, well, by 1994, I was virtually housebound and frequently bedbound due to the confluence of both irritable bowel syndrome and fibromyalgia. I rarely went into the office twice a month to pay everybody. And that was about it. And I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started looking on, well, in the medical library, UAB's medical library. And I was researching. My background was in pharmacy, so educationally, that's what I was. And everybody was grateful that I never practiced, and they still are. But so I started doing research to figure out what other countries were using for these illnesses, because I knew that most of the drugs in the world that are in widespread use in the world never make it to the U.S. And I thought, well, I'll just I'll figure out what they're using somewhere else, and I'll figure out a way to get it. But what I found was that no other country had an idea what to do about these two illnesses either. But I ran across a synopsis in the Lancet, which is probably the most prestigious medical journal in the world. It's a British medical journal. And I mean, this was no more than 4 or 5 sentences, but it said that this gastroenterologist, Peter Horwell in Manchester, England, was using hypnosis for his failed or refractory IBS patients, and about 50% were improving. Now, nobody was getting well. Not everybody, not even the majority of people were improving, but from where I sat, 50% looked like pretty good odds. And I was naive enough to think that if I called him up, I could get him on the phone and he would tell me what he was doing and what I should do. Or actually, I really wanted to become a patient, and I was going to figure out how to get myself on a plane to Manchester, England. So after 21 days straight of calling the office, I'm sure his secretary said, Dr. Horwell, please talk to this woman. Get this yank to stop calling me. But at least I got him on the phone, and it really wasn't a discussion. It was a monologue on his part. He thought I was a hypnotherapist. And he said, do this, don't do this. And if they're close to 50, don't take them. You won't get any results. And I got off the phone. I was really excited. And then I realized I don't have a clue what he was talking about. I mean, I had learned self-hypnosis as an undergraduate. My college roommate quit smoking using hypnotherapy. And so it was on my radar. And I learned self-hypnosis to develop a a photographic memory. And then I used it to get through graduate school. But I never, I'm a little slow on the uptake. I never thought about using it past grad school and photographic memory. And I wish today that I knew what the hell I did back then to develop that kind of memory, because I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. But so, the mid-'80s came, and I got sick and talked to Dr. Horwell, because I figured, okay, nobody knows what to do about fibromyalgia, and I really don't think I'm crazy or any crazier than I've ever been. But I thought, hey, 1 out of 2 is not so bad. So I started, I hauled myself off to hypnotherapy school, because I thought that I would learn what he told me to do on the phone. And I didn't. So then I learned NLP, and I did more hypnosis training, and none of it taught me what I needed to know. So I was frustrated, and I just started working on myself. And there were no roadmaps. Now, I had already tried everything else that I can think of. I had done elimination diets. I had done, the rice diet. And I had done Chinese medicine. And I had done anything that anyone suggested that their Aunt Sally's second cousin, twice removed, had tried, and it worked for them. And nothing worked for me. So I just started without a roadmap, just going, okay, maybe this will work. And it took 13 months. But I finally stumbled upon the types of suggestions and the sequence that was needed, and I was symptom-free, at least of that. So I went back to work at the same job that had made me sick. So like I said, I'm a little slow on the uptake. And my sister noticed I was back at work, and she called up and she said, "What did you do?" And I told her. She said, "Fix me." And I went, "Okay, come on in." She showed up for her 3rd session with 17 of her closest friends and family members in tow. I didn't know they were coming. I just went out to the reception room to get my sister, and there was a lobby full of people. And they all came in. They all wanted to be fixed. So I did the same thing with them that I'd used on myself, and they all became symptom-free. I mean, 100% symptom-free. And I thought at that point, maybe I'm onto something. So, and that was at the same time that I needed a dissertation topic. And I thought, I'll do this.
Yeah.
And the president of my committee went, "No, no. Just rehash somebody else's results, put a little polish on it, and get your PhD and get out of here." I mean, it was quite a few years at that point that I'd been going through this. They just wanted me gone. But I persisted. And I thought, well, where am I going to get all these IBS clients to fuel this research? And I did what was the conventional wisdom of the day. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, and that didn't get me a single client. And I ran a big display ad in the Sunday local paper. That netted me 4 phone calls, 0 clients. And I thought, well, now what? I've turned this in. I've insisted that I'm going to do this as my dissertation, and I've got to have clients. Where do I get them? Well, when I had been in industry, I was in human resources personnel with Abbott Laboratories in Chicago. And I had started in recruiting and then had morphed into training and development. And they had me training field sales reps. So I knew how to call on doctors. And my now ex-husband was a doctor, so I didn't have any real mystique about them. And I just started going from door to door, knocking on doors. Hello, I'm Melissa Roth. I'm a hypnotherapist in the area. And part of it, I know, was intrigue. They'd never met a hypnotherapist before. They wanted to see what one looked like and if I had a neon palm outside my office, which I didn't. Then. I'm thinking about getting one now. But so they started sending me clients. And I went, okay. So I thought, whew. And it took 2 years. And I had 36 IBS clients in that first group. And at the end of 2 years, 94% of them had gotten greater than a 50% improvement in their symptoms. And 86% became totally symptom-free. And I'm still in, that was in 1996 at that point. And I keep in touch with those 36. One is deceased now, but I'm still in touch with 35 of them. And they are all still completely symptom-free. 2 or 3 of them have come back into my practice for other reasons, mostly because their life just, hit the toilet suddenly, like happens.
No pun intended.
Right. But their IBS symptoms haven't come back. I mean, for example, Paul, and Paul knows that I talk about him. It's okay with him. In the 6 months prior to coming back into my practice, Paul's mother, whom he had been the sole caretaker for 8 years, died. He lost his job. He relocated. He found another job. And the idiot built a house with the brother that he was never able to get along with. I mean, we should have done sessions around his decision-making ability. But his IBS symptoms had not come back. Not at all. So things rocked along, and I started seeing more and more IBS clients. And one of them was a physician from Atlanta, and every week he drove to Birmingham, 2.5 hours each way for a session. And his IBS 6 sessions is still a thing of the past. And it was severe enough that he was a radiologist and he was covering 4 or 5 hospitals in the Atlanta area. And he couldn't get from one hospital to the next without stopping a couple of times to have diarrhea. And so we took care of his IBS problems right away. And then he started complaining about, these aches. It just ached in his legs and his shoulders. And he didn't know what to do. And he was stiff frequently. And he couldn't sleep. And he was tired all the time. And I finally said, you've got fibromyalgia, and I don't know what to do for that. And he sat forward, he looked at me, and he said, "It's my money. Try something."
Figure it out.
Yeah. And I went, "Oh, shit," pun intended. So I thought, well, maybe that'll take care of my aches and pains. And I didn't sleep. I had the same thing. So one more time, I started working on myself and him jointly. And that took 14 months because, again, there was no roadmap. And again, I launched a 2-year controlled research project after after he and I both became symptom-free. And at that point, I had become somewhat known in the Birmingham area. Birmingham is about 1.25 million people. But I'd become known to the medical community there. And they started calling up going, well, we've got this patient we're going to send over. And we don't know what's wrong, but we know there's something wrong. And maybe you can help them. So I did not choose to be a medically oriented, a medical hypnotherapist. They chose me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much still the way it is going. And as a result, I've gotten to see some really interesting, fascinating clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been able to come up with some therapy processes that eliminate all the symptoms from really chronic illnesses.
Melissa, I want to interrupt you just for a second, if you don't mind, because rather than you putting it out there, I'd rather do it for you. I really want to be
my guest.
I have got Melissa's protocols for fibromyalgia and for IBS. I've had them for a number of years, and I remember when I first got that material, I was so just thrilled to see not only the wealth of information that she's put together, but it's immediately usable, and it's the real deal. My experience is that fibro and IBS are the two things that medicine really didn't have any response for. So by all means, so Melissa, how can people get their hands on this stuff from you?
Well, my website is melissaroth.com. Pretty easy. And if they want to reach me, the email address is melissa@melissaroth.com.
Oh, okay, melissatears.com. Wait. Oh.
Melissa Tears will just turn it around and go, this is not for me. This has got to be for you.
This is melissaroth.com. Yeah, melissaroth.com. Great.
And I want to attest to how well it works too, Melissa, because it was back in 2006 that I took your IBS protocol class, got all of your material and the fibromyalgia material as well. And almost immediately, I had a young girl, about 17 or 18 at that point, and she came with me with IBS. And I went, well, okay, I'll follow this protocol and see what happens. And I was doing a whole different system at that time. I was in a franchise organization, which we're not going to go into, but I wasn't allowed to see this person in that organization, so I took her as a private client in my home. I only charged her $75 an hour because she was a young girl. She couldn't afford anything, and her IBS is gone. Here's the thing, Melissa. She's still a client. She is now a famous comedian, and she still, every time she's in Chicago, books a session with me. And to this day, I still charge her just $75 an hour because that's what we started out on. So my cheapest client is your fault. Thank you very much. But her IBS is gone.
That's great.
She is out there, and it's because of that protocol. So thank you very much for all of that information. It's great stuff. And I taught your 5-minute migraine cure at Michael's certification class earlier this year. We did it on a distance basis to find out how that would work, and it worked beautifully. So
yeah, it's the migraine protocol. I do it on airplanes a lot because stewardesses, because of the pressure, decompression and compression.
I use it a
lot. So I do it on airplanes a lot because I want to drink, a free drink, and and over the phone. I mean, it's just you can get a client in a full-blown migraine, completely out of pain in 5 minutes or less.
That's right.
And then there's a second session required for them to be free of migraines for a lifetime. They never come back.
But Melissa told me something very important about IBS, fibromyalgia, and migraine relief. One of the reasons that it's lucrative for hypnotists to work in those areas is because doctors don't really have a good way of dealing with this, and nor do the drug companies. Big Pharma doesn't have a good way of dealing with it either. And so the patients keep coming back over and over and over. And if the client can give them to a hypnotherapist and it works, they're the hero. And so the doctors love to work with somebody who can take their IBS, fibromyalgia, and migraine patients and help them.
That's true, Karen. Physicians are probably some of the most frustrated professionals that I've ever encountered, because they went into medicine because they wanted to help people, most of them. I mean, there's not enough money in medicine anymore for you to go into it for money. I mean, hell, I earn more than the average physician on the street. And just about everybody on this panel does too. So it has to be a labor of love. They genuinely want to help people. But the vast majority of the patients that they see every day, they don't have anything to offer. Chronic illnesses are the bane of their existence. And so if you come in and you say, hey, I don't want to do this and I'm getting good results, they'll send you 2 or 3 of their hardest cases first. But just because it's their hardest case doesn't mean it's your hardest case.
Right. It works wonderfully.
It works wonderfully.
Melissa, it's been a joy to have you. You know, I always like to hang out with you at every opportunity. So please stay with us as long as you'd like to. Interject as often as you'd like. And if you want to get in touch with Melissa Roth, give us your contact information one more time, melissaroth.com, pretty easy.
And it's melissa@melissaroth.com.
Great.
There you go.
And I do just want to point out too, as we're saying goodbye to Melissa, that you heard in our conversation with Tom, in fact, my consideration when we were putting this together in terms of, is this a show for potential clients? Is this a show for hypnotists? What I really like about this is that people listening, if there's folks that are dealing with IBS or fibromyalgia or these various things,
or migraines or autoimmune, or
hopefully Melissa has given you the understanding that we've really got something valuable to offer, and there's some great work available. Find your local hypnotist and take advantage of the skill base that is at your disposal. And I was so naive when I first heard about IBS. I thought it was Illinois Business School. So I didn't deal with that for the first couple of years of my practice. I didn't take it seriously, but now I got your phone.
You're so full of shit.
Thank you so very much, Melissa.
Thank you.
It's really our pleasure to have you here. And I want to remind everybody on call, you are all muted, by the way. If you don't know that, automatically when you come into the call, I've set it up now so that extraneous background sounds and things don't interfere with our broadcast. If you do have a question or something like that at an appropriate time, when we invite questions, you can open up your microphone. Down into the bottom left of your screen, there's a little microphone. While you're muted, it probably has a red circle and a line through it, or maybe just a line through it. And you can click on it to open up your mic when you need to do that. And again, go out and get your CEUs. And by the way, there's one other thing that I gleaned from Melissa's story that I will tell you about. When it came to getting started in this profession and developing what she needed to develop, she persisted. So that haunting phrase from 2017, thanks again, Melissa, for being with us.